So obviously, welcome to Challenge to Build Live. I'm streaming on TikTok and recording a video for YouTube while we do this. So welcome to the live stream, everybody. As you can see behind me, the rear end is sitting precariously on some jack stands and the jack. I have a leaf spring kind of temped in. The plan for tonight is get the leaf springs in, get the rear mounted, and if we're lucky, maybe some airbags, and finish the wheel studs on the drums. Not exactly sure what's going to happen or how it's going to go, but we're going to get to work and we're going to challenge the build and we're going to get to it right now. You don't realize how heavy a spring pack is until you pick them up in and out of the truck 5 or 6 times. And hopefully that's the last time that I do that. But to answer your question, Semperfi Fab Shop is wanting to know how my shop is staying so clean. And I accredit that actually to working in the aviation field. Don't forget, I spent the last 15 years working in aviation as an aircraft painter and FOD. So a question to my viewers, FOD, F-O-D, what does that stand for? Not prepared for this. I don't have my tools out yet. And because I don't have my tools out, how's my connection? Pretty good. All right, yeah. So we'll get an overview of the shop. It's not terrible, but there's just like little messes everywhere. So to me, it's just a chaotic mess. There's a lot of like grinding dust all over the floor, and it just needs a good cleaning. I'm good at making a mess, but I get to a certain point where I have to stop, and I call it like a reset. I have to stop, clean everything up, put the tools away. Even if I'm still using the tools with the specific job that I'm on, I'll stop, I'll clean everything up, I'll sweep the floors, and start again. I don't know. I think a lot of it honestly has to come from working in the aviation field. The place that I worked took cleanliness like top notch, which rightfully so, being in aviation. But JR, yep, you got it. Foreign object debris. Big player in aviation and causes a lot of damage. The statistics on how much money FOD damage causes in the aviation field is astounding. But I attribute or credit, whatever the word you might want to pick, my shop cleanliness comes from that kind of atmosphere. I'm only going to snug everything up. We're going to set the rear in place, get everything snugged, and then I'm going to come back around after everything's together and torque everything up. Alright, this will be tricky, but we'll manage. Flip kit bracket for the axle, one for either side. I'm going to jack the rear up a little bit, pull out the jack stands. I'm not really too concerned now because the leaf springs are in. If I have an accident with the jack, at least it will stay and go no farther than the leaf springs. But I have it balanced on the jack pretty good, so let me jack it up and we'll get the jack stands out. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm sweating a little bit. This is where you got to get creative when you work by yourself. So I'm at the point now where I need to get the jack down out of the way, or at least put the weight on the rear. The problem is if I let the jack all the way down, the pinion is still forward heavy. So if I let the jack down, it's going to want to rotate down and basically fall off where I already have it. So I learned this with the rear end in my Suburban project, and it just so happens where I put the shock cross member, it's going to help me out. But I'm going to take a ratchet strap, wrap it around the shock cross member, wrap it around the pinion, ratchet it up so that way it pulls it up, and then when I drop my jack down, it should basically stay in sort of the area that I need it, and then I can work the left side and then the right side with the jack. So I'm going to kind of move you around a little bit so that way you can get a better look. So we're going to go ups and daisies with that. Well, that's new. Some comments were filtered to protect the community. What are you guys telling me? That I'm working too slow, right? Is that what they're filtering out? Bada bing, bada boom. That worked perfectly again. It worked. And work left side and right side separately. Put the plate on backwards. Where's my build crew at? Come on. Help me out. Where are you at? Tell me I'm slipping. Can't be doing all this by myself. I mean, I already did all the heavy lifting for everybody. I didn't even have anybody in here using a jack to help me out. Unreal. Unreal. The least you could have did was tell me that I was putting the bracket on the wrong way. So we learned from the other side to make sure that we're putting the plate on the right way. Yes and no, Dale. So the center bolts, they even have a little bit of play in them as well. So the center bolts get it centered like front to back and side to sides, but everything has a little bit of movement in it. The leaf springs, I got to tighten them up more to bring everything in alignment, but I'm just kind of double checking myself. While yes, the center bolts are there for that reason, it doesn't hurt to break out a tape measure because the clearance on these fenders is super tight. And with the flip kit, so from the flip kit that was installed, there's even a little bit of play inside the bracket, up inside where it sits into the old factory leaf spring perch. So while the center bolts are there, everything kind of still moves just a little bit. And we're going to try to make sure that we're damn near perfect, because the clearance is really tight once that bed drops down. So break out a tape measure, double check, can't hurt. because while the flip kit perch is down in that center bolt, the way that it's kind of cut like a U, and it sits up inside the leaf spring perch. So there's just a little bit of movement left to right, and I noticed that from when I was trial fitting back when I was fabbing everything. I took some measurements and was able to move it and get it shifted into position. Now, obviously, once we put it down and, you know, just normal road travel, I mean, it's going to move a little bit, but I do want to take a couple of minutes and measure a couple things and try to get it as close as we can, or close as I can. And I'm measuring, so the point of reference that I'm using is, obviously I'm taking my square, putting it on the axle tube, running it up in the same position on the left and right hand side, but I'm not measuring from the frame because the frames on these trucks taper backwards from front to rear. So while I'm measuring on this side, I might not measure on the same side or the same point on the other side. So I'm actually measuring off of the wheel tub from either side. And even that, you know, who knows where the bed's at. So I should probably pick a reference point on the rear. But I'm going to take a few reference measurements in a couple different areas and just check and double check and make sure that we're legit before I go torque everything down. What I will probably do is, depending on how much work this needs, let's see. We run parallel to the tape measure, so we'll check that measurement too. I'll be right back. String line, yes, that's a good idea. I do like your idea of the string line, though. G, you're on the money. I don't think that's really going to help me out too much, but it needed to be done anyway. We're going to have a little bit of fun here before we wrap up the stream tonight. We're going to see if this cross member fits now that everything's powder coated and painted. And don't worry, I will get back to locking in the rear differential. I need a night's worth of sleep and a little bit of coffee in my blood to get me through that. But I'll work on that tomorrow morning. Putting this cross member in really makes no difference here nor there, but we can end on a high note, hopefully, as long as it fits. Be able to install my $75 worth of grade 8 hardware. Almost there. Work out the guns. Nothing like a crossbody blow with the hammer, right? And it is a dinky little dead blow. I think it's only a 3-pound. I guess it would be wise to take, I guess that's where copper sheet comes in handy. When you do this, maybe, for future reference, maybe put a thin layer of copper sheet in between, so that way I can accommodate for the powder coat. And I'll be honest, this powder coater put some serious powder on these parts too. There is a lot of material on here. I probably should have did something like that, some kind of shim. Anybody got ideas? Alan, I know you're still in the chat. what lesson did I learn here? What do I need to do differently so this way here this doesn't happen? Some kind of shim, 16 gauge, 18 gauge, 20 gauge. Not that a tight fit is bad, but this is a little too tight. Woo! I like this bigger one. That did it. I told you earlier I wasn't feeling good either. You know when you're not feeling good or under the weather, you get them fevers and that like fever sweat. I definitely can feel my body fighting something. Not giving up on you that easy. That's where we're calling it. I'm spent for the day. Whew. We're getting there slowly but surely. Doesn't get done unless you work on it. That's what we're doing. I came up with challenge to build because I sat in a corner at work one day thinking to myself, what would be a good name for my YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the sorts. And I was running all different kind of things through my head. Nothing really stuck. And then something my dad said to me all the time. Anytime we would get into like a scuffle or something like that, or he would talk to me about certain things, he'd always come at me and say, "I'm challenging you, son. I'm challenging you." And I remember a couple times a couple times I would be back. I would talk back and be like, "I don't want to be challenged, Dad. I don't want to be challenged right now." All that to say is these builds definitely challenged me. And I'm challenging the build. And that's how I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. So everybody who's watched on the live stream, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. As you can tell, this is kind of a working stream and a place where we can all hang out. I'm tired, I'm worn out. We got a lot of work done to the truck today. The whole front end is back together, tidied up. We started getting the rear end put back together. I got the drums put together for the wheels. And started working on the wiring. Ran some more airlines. So one step at a time. And hopefully October 1st is kind of my deadline. I'm going to try to have this at a car show by October 1st. And I think I'll be able to make it as long as there's no major problems. But it just takes time. You got to work at it. I've challenged my build today. Hopefully you get out there, depending on where you're watching from, can challenge your build. If not, challenge it tomorrow. My name's Paul Michael. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everybody. And I'll see you all in an upcoming live stream and or video. Have a good day or a good night. Again, depending from where you're watching.